Hey, Wade.
Good morning. How's
How
life treating
are you?
Rob this fine day?
Very productive, very tired, but very happy. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. It is 8:30 here, and I still haven't slept because sleep is the poor man's coffee.
Yeah, you're on the end of saying things like that all the time. And it's the other way around here in Metro Manila. It's 11:30 right now on the clock, and we are in the midst of yet another episode of Magic.TV Presents. Now, Magic.TV and all its publications is brought to you by the big man, King Belial. This show is dedicated to him, for him, by him. And quite frankly, you want to check him out, that's a sigil right there. All these episodes go to him. And before you guys jump to conclusions, no, we don't worship the devil. Okay? Some people wonder, like, do they worship the devil? But we give credit where credit is due. And the big man, King Belial, has helped us in the past. He brought us together. And, I give him full credit for the creation of Magic.TV. So, with that being said, tonight's episode is something that's going to pretty much be all weighed long, for lack of a better word. And tonight, you actually brought it up, and I kind of agreed that you'd be the context person for this because we never did a ritual, or we never did an episode on the actual practice of Thelemic Ritual Magick. Now, since I'm not a Thelemite, this is where I defer to you. And with that being said, hold on, I'm just inviting people so that they join us. With that being said, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about it, especially for people who don't know anything about the topic. And
Okay.
Basically speaking, you just answer as honestly as you can. Now, this is being cross promoted on several platforms right now, so there are no tarot readings being done in this episode. But if you want to send some stars to support it, by all means, do so. All right. So you
Well,
ready to do this? Wait. Huh?
I wanted to set up a little context here first.
Fire away.
There are rituals used in Thelema, but then there's like a separate set of rituals that are specifically Thelemic.
Yep.
Which they're unique to Thelema.
Right.
So, and I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Well, we're going to discuss
because
that.
There's rituals like the banishing ritual, the pentagram, the hexagram, and all that are actually from the Golden Dawn and even older sources. But we can cover anything that you have an interest in.
Well, I have to make this a little bit understandable for the common folk, but then again, I'm sure we all have something we can learn from this. So let's start off with just some of the good old questions. All right. Now, for somebody completely new to the subject, what exactly is Thelema, and how is it different from other forms of ceremonial magic and ritual magic?
Well, Thelema is kind of it's kind of a meta philosophy. Like, it applies to it. People pitch it in the context of being a religion, but it's really like a religion modifier. Like, you could be a Thelemic Christian or a Thelemic Muslim. It's really just about discovering your true will and doing that thing, which your true will is basically your part in the machinery of the universe. You know, how like in a particular community, you need a baker. You need someone to take care of the cows. You need someone to, be the police. You need someone to sweep the streets. Everyone has a job to do, and it's the same thing spiritually. We just have this. If you think of it like your character class, it's not a quest. It's just something that you do, something that you're suited for, something you enjoy, and something that pays the bills. And that's your true will.
Like Aleister Crowley said in one text, I forgot which one it is, because again, I'm not a Thelemite, that like the highest form of black magic is knowing your true will and not doing that. Is that true?
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know about being the highest form, but it's the most damaging. Because you see so many people now that they would much rather be artists or explorers or musicians or building things, and they're stuck in these dead-end cubicle jobs because that's what they're currently doing, but it's not fulfilling for them. It's not satisfying for them. And so it's doing the most damage to them in the long run because they're not doing the thing that they were built to do.
I see.
You know, it's like that guy that uses a spoon as a shoehorn and then, wonders why he's always got cuts on his heels. Well, you're using the wrong tool for this. You're doing it wrong.
Well, that being said, though, does it mean that doesn't go to say, though, that for those just tuning in, that if you're following your true will, you're going to be all rainbows and butterflies, right? I mean, some people dedicate themselves to their true will. It becomes very difficult.
Well, it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But the momentum that you have from doing your true will pretty much means you can step anywhere with confidence because it makes a way for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, well, I have to move. I need to get a new place. I need to go to a different town. I need to do this. I need to do that. Most people would be super stressed out by it. A Thelemite who's like comfortable in his will and walking his path could just be like, fuck it, I'll move to Oakland and figure it out when I get there. And it would be, and the way would be made for him.
And with that being said, since the true will was the thing that you talked about, it's like, can you be a Thelemite but not like an advocate of your true will? Or is it really part of, if you're a Thelemite, you're chasing after your true will?
Well, now you're talking about like Christians against Christ. It's pretty much you are only a Thelemite if you are actively seeking to discover your true will or doing it.
Perfect. And you hear this a lot as a Thelemite. Again, these are just some questions that I'm sure people who don't know anything about Thelema would like to ask. They hear things like, do as thou wilt, and that shall be the whole of the law. Or they hear things like 93. What do these things mean?
93 is just the numeration for the Greek word Thelema, which is for will. But I personally don't like the numerology thing, but that's whatever. But that's when they say do what thou wilt, they're not saying do what you want. This isn't Chuck E. Cheese. You can't just go happy assholing around the city doing whatever you want. But you're supposed to be doing your will. Do what thou wilt. Should be the whole of the law. And then it goes on to say, do that and no other shall say nay. Because if you're really doing your true will, it's going to put you into your track. Like if you think about, a train that's on the tracks has a way it's going, and pretty much nothing else is going to go on those tracks.
I see. All right. Now, the next question I have for you is many people hear the name Aleister Crowley and immediately think of the controversy. For those of you who don't know, who was Crowley? What did he contribute? And why is he like synonymous with Thelema? Because like some people are like, well, is he the founder of Thelema? I mean, what's the whole story about good old Uncle Al? And for those, before we go any further, I know this answer. It's just I know people want to know this.
Yeah. Crowley was the prophet of the Aeon of Thelema. So every couple thousand years, we get a new Aeon. And there is a prophet that announces the new word, and that was Crowley's. So he was kind of like Muhammad was a prophet, or Jesus was a prophet, that they would show up and announce the word or the new way of doing things, and it's part of a series of steps of spiritual evolution where, people talk about, thousands of years ago, like 4,000 years ago, God was all up in everybody's cornbread. You could ask him for something and he would just give it to you. And everything he did was all around us, but now it's like he's not here. Well, if you look at it like in the terms, in the sense of when you're growing up, when you're a little kid, you cry, mom and dad come running, they give you a bottle, they change your diaper, they put you to bed, they get you up. As you grow older, you become more independent. You're supposed to become like them, not become more dependent on them. And the human race is evolving toward and beyond godhood. But
Because
right now
what
we're kind of somewhere in our teens.
I could imagine. All right, now the next thing I'm going to ask you though is that was Crowley the original prophet of Thelema, or was he just the most notorious? And were there prophets after him?
Well, there was the whole thing of Rabelais and the Abbey of Thelema, but that was more about do what you want
Mhm,
as opposed to doing. It wasn't a concrete philosophy yet in
mhm.
terms of discovering your true will and all that. So, in practical terms, I'd say yes. I
All
mean,
right,
it could be argued that other people had talked about the same things, but in terms of what we're dealing with today, that's your source material.
perfect, perfect. Because the next thing we wanted to know, and this is a very popular one, is what are the fundamental daily practices of a Thelemic magician, and why are they so important? This is where we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's discussion.
Well, doing your pentagram rituals of whichever
Mhm.
type are usually typically what people do like on their regular day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram has a special purpose. And Israel Regardie said, well, properly understood, it's the medicine of metals and the stone of the wise, and he was not wrong. Because when you banish earth on a daily basis, it makes your world soft and easy to work. Kind of
Mhm.
like heat, like when you put a piece of iron in the forge,
Yeah.
and it gets all hot and it's easier to work on and less brittle. That's what you're doing when you're doing the LBRP. Is you're softening the metal so it more easily takes the stamp of your will.
What about rituals like Liber Resh? And before you even say the use of it, for the first time viewer's sake, explain to us what Liber Resh is and the utility of it.
Will do. In just I want to go back to the pentagram rituals.
Go ahead, go
They
ahead, go
tend to
ahead.
be for setting your microcosm, setting the elements
Mhm.
within your microcosm, like yourself, like buffing your power. It's like getting your buff on before that you go and face the day, as opposed to the hexagram rituals, which are sort of like connecting with the macrocosm. So if you're
Mhm.
doing a ritual, you definitely want to, buff yourself and then connect to the macrocosm, because that
Mhm.
applies your will in the in the world around you, which is the difference with those. It's not just to work the planets. It is, but it's more than that. So now you're talking about Liber Resh.
Wait, before we go any further, before we touch Resh, these rituals, because a lot of level one ceremonial magicians, if they don't know the LBRP and the LBRH, they probably don't know ritual magic, at least Western ritual magic. So, are these rituals stuff that should be, from your opinion, practiced on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, as needed? What's your take on it?
The LBRP, I used to find it handy to do that. Pretty much, you time it with brushing your teeth. Get up in the
Mhm.
morning, do your LBRP, brush your teeth. And that way it sets up a mnemonic. So you can do that one twice a day. It's great.
Mhm.
Some people do it 4 times a day. Some people do it once a week. Some people do it never.
Mhm.
But um, if you do it like when you get up and then when you go to bed, that's great. That's actually more than a lot of people do. Those are the ones that's the one that I would recommend everyone who's doing magic to do that one on a regular basis, at least once a day.
All right.
The other one's pretty much whatever you need. Um, Liber Resh is another one of the ones that a lot of people include in their dailies. But since that ties you in with the cycles of the sun, honestly, I would use that if you're doing something with doing like something that has a solar influence. If you're doing rituals that require, glory or pride or integrity, something with a solar influence, you could use that. But something that Crowley never covered was that you can use that for any of the planets.
Really?
You just have to, yeah, you just have to look up when, say, if you're going to do Mercury. Now Mercury is probably rising either with the sun or right before or after it. So you look up the actual time that Mercury rises, and you modify the ritual. Instead of being about the sun, you make it about Mercury, and you change like the deities, the names, and all that. You can write your own poem for it because Crowley wrote that. And then you just time it to when Mercury is rising at noon, setting, and midnight.
So you need to have a basic understanding of some astronomical timings in the sky, right? Like you'd need to know what time Mercury is rising, where is it present right now, so that at least you could maximize. So, like example, it becomes just kind of like a form of planetary invocation, right?
Well, Mercury is one of the terrestrial planets, so it's never more than 15 degrees away from the sun. It's very close. So that would be an easy one to do because it would be around sunrise and around sunset, noon and midnight. But yeah, it would be a way of attuning yourself. Say if you have, if you're doing a big Mercury thing next Wednesday, you'd start this Wednesday, and you would attune yourself to Mercury using Liber Resh. Oh, technically, Resh is Resh Bel Helios. It's for the sun, but you'd be doing the same ritual for Mercury.
So, like example, if I had a big date, yeah, it's making sense. It's kind of like a mini invocations. Like if I had a big date, I could do Resh von Venus, and just make me more prettier, right?
Yeah, and you'd start that on Friday, and then you would bring that around to the next Friday.
So it's kind of like a whole cycle, a steroid cycle of Venus juju. All right, that makes sense. All right, so
and it just aligns you to the planetary energy for it.
Makes sense. All right, if a beginner wanted to start practicing Thelemic Ritual Magick, what would be the first ritual or exercise you would recommend, and why?
Well, I gotta give this one to Rigardi. Doing the LBRP twice a day for a year. Now that sounds kind of like a year. Really, I'm going to commit to that. Honestly, you'll start seeing effects after a couple of weeks, if not immediately. But get started doing that. Get in the habit of doing daily rituals. And if you're feeling zesty, maybe leave a resh along with it.
All right. Now here's a question. Since your advice was the LBRP to start off with, when do you know you've got enough juice in you to add another ritual like the hexagram ritual or the what's it called, the middle pillar? When do you know it's time to add those other rituals to your practice?
Oh, they're not exhausting or anything. Try them out, practice with them. I always recommend people play with things. Get up, do your LBRP, wait until you can do that one, just from memory. And when you're really confident with that, then go, then try out some of the other rituals, see which ones you like, see which ones actually kind of do it for you. And some of them you really should master, at least the lesser pentagram and hexagram.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually makes a lot of sense because like one thing that a lot of magicians like to talk about is the value of banishing. And having a banishing ritual that you could perform when you just don't like the guck around you could make or break a person's day. So I agree with you on that. I mean, although I'm the one asking the questions, I do concur that mastering the LBRP is probably the first serious step you could take. Now, to go as far as to say 1 year worth of doing it, maybe not, especially with nowadays ADHD culture. But once you can say you can do it with your eyes closed, then you can start experimenting with it. Okay. One criticism often leveled at ceremonial magic is that it's all psychological. From your perspective, what actually happens during ritual? Is it psychology, spirituality, energy work, contact with intelligence, or something else entirely?
Yes. No, it happens on many levels. When you first start doing it, it's psychological. In the Temple of Set, they had two types of magic they talked about. Greater black magic and lesser black magic. And those basically were psychodrama and psychobabble. But what they don't talk about is that in the Onyx tablet, they also practice medial black magic, which is actual spellcraft. And it's crazy because that was the first place I'd ever been where there was a magic using tradition where people didn't believe in magic.
That's trippy.
I
How did
was
that work?
astounded, you know? So if you start out with something, there's, you can do the whole, well, I'm just going to fake it till I make it. But it's more than just the effect it has on you. And it's not like you're, uttering the ancient keys that open portals by themselves, because you could program Teddy Ruxpin to say the same rituals and nothing would happen, because it's all about your intent, your energy while you do it. And the more confident you become in, when you memorize the ritual and you can just do the whole thing and really put some, really rub the funk on it when you're, throwing pentagrams, when you're, setting the circles, when you're drawing, doing all the lines, when you can really, get into it, that's when it starts working the best for it. That's what really kicks it into gear.
I am going to throw down in that. It's really all about the intention. Because one thing that I took away from Dion Fortune was anything done with intention or intent is already an act of magic. Now, a lot of people I've worked with, I've taught magic to, say they feel silly doing these rituals. And I tell them this: if you're just tracing things in the air, saying funny words, then yeah, you look fucking stupid. But if you're doing it with pure intention, all of a sudden it's something more. So if you don't want to look stupid doing it, then do it with intention. It reminds me of that old story of the samurai and the tea master. Did you ever hear that anecdote from Japan, like the samurai and the tea master, where there was this tea master, one of the best tea masters in Japan, and he found an old suit of samurai armor, so he tried it on because he was trying to, feel like he was a samurai. Then a rival clan samurai saw him and said, "You're of the enemy, I will come and kill you tonight." So, of course, his tea master was like, well, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm just a tea master. So when he finally met the man, he said, yes, I will fight you on one condition: that we perform a tea ceremony beforehand. And during the tea ceremony, every single gesture was so full of intention and just will, that the samurai said, dude, if he's taking a tea ceremony this seriously, what more his combat training? And he backed off. You get what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. Yeah. You could have just looked at it as, oh, it's just a tea ceremony. Or you could look at every single gesture, sound, word, thought, vibration as an act of magic, and it will be.
Yeah.
That's something you agree with, Doctor?
Oh, yeah. It's the more effort you put into something, the better it gets. But you can also take the same intention and you can refine the ritual later. I've seen, I've seen masters that can just throw down a circle, like doing an LBRP in a single gesture, and you can almost feel it going past you. It's pretty impressive. So when you're like that good with a ritual, you can do it instantly.
Exactly, but it's going to involve thousands and thousands of repetitions before it becomes like second nature to you.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, how do you like in boxing? Okay, what's the difference between my boxing and Mike Tyson's boxing? Because it's the same punches: jab, straight, hook, upper, cross, right? The problem is Mike Tyson's been throwing millions of punches. So when he punches, it's the same jab, but it's only 10,000 times more efficient and deadly. All right.
He's also roughly the size of a Cadillac, so
that too. All right. Now, many practitioners report profound personal transformations through ritual work. What are some of the most significant benefits you've personally witnessed from a constant Thelemic practice?
I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening back in Pennsylvania. I didn't know what it was at the time. I was having a crisis of faith. I'd been doing my rituals every day, but I'd recently been contacted by a preacher who was trying to lure me away from the devil and get me back into the fold and blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't getting a lot out of my magic at that time. And I started wondering, like, was I just kidding myself? The self-doubt starts to creep in. And I thought, I'm gonna go ahead and do my ritual one more time tonight. And I did it, and I felt funny. And I thought, I'm gonna do this again. And I did the LBRP again. And I was completely blown away, like from your feet, just like you can almost feel this wave coming through your body, like sizzling your skin all the way up till your hair stands on end. And I realized at that point, no, I'm doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And I had absolute unshakable confidence in my magic after that, because there was no doubt. It's like this was a complete life-changing thing, and it was just from the LBRP. But it was when I needed it.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about it. Magic can sometimes turn off on you at times. And it gets a little bit like, well, why was it turned off? All right, this is a good one. Thelemic Magick incorporates elements of Kabbalah, astrology, Egyptian symbolism, and ceremonial techniques. How do these different systems work together within the Thelemic framework?
It's always been kind of a sticking point with me. There's a lot of hodgepodge going on. Mm-hmm. They'll take Egyptian gods, take the Greek names, take the numbers from the Greek names, take those numbers into Hebrew, turn that back into a different gematria, and now we're going to make a sigil. Well, shit, if you flip something around back and forth enough times, you can make it say anything.
Yeah.
It becomes meaningless. So I don't personally put a lot of stock in anything outside of your holy guardian angel is just advice. It's not a law. Mm-hmm. If you get knowledge and conversation with your HGA, everything else can just go fuck itself, because that's you. That's the highest expression of yourself. It is the most you can be. And the rest of it is really just window dressing at that point.
Gravy. Basically gravy. All right. Now I'm going to actually ask certain things. Is like because some of these rituals are not Thelemic, okay? But they're just going to nitpick a few of them. And I want you to give us, in less than 2 sentences, what do they do and and how important are they? Let's start off with the Kabbalistic cross.
The Kabbalistic cross is really just to kind of center you in, say, if you're doing the LBRP, that's just to put you where you are, as it were. It's to identify the location of the ritual, is that it's centered on you. It's not centered on something else.
All right. What about the hexagram ritual?
The like overall, or the preliminary part of the, because they do the LVX signs in the
the analysis, the keyword.
Yeah, that is more about identifying, to the outside, because notice it's not centered on you anymore. It's you're doing the signs to identify with the light, which is coming from the outside.
Okay. So like, what's the usefulness? Like, why would I want to do the hexagram ritual?
The hexagram rituals are to connect your will to the macrocosm. It connects the microcosm to the macrocosm. So if you're going to be doing work on yourself, the LBRP is fine. If you're going to be doing work that affects the world, or if you want to tap into a greater current, then you can do the hexagram ritual also.
Here's another ritual that doesn't get enough credit, but a lot of people should know it: the middle pillar ritual.
The middle pillar ritual is really just, they say, well, it's identifying the tree of life. It's specifically the middle pillar of the tree of life, which lines up with your chakras. So it's kind of it's like when you run your chakras, when you're meditating and you just kind of bump each of your chakras up. It's just a ritual way of doing that.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically just plugging you in, right?
Yeah.
All right. And like, of course, there's one again. I know this one, but people who don't know it, people talk about something called the Abramelin working. What's your take on that one?
The Abramelin working is, well, it's the Abramelin working is like a 6-month version of a vision quest.
Mm-hmm.
So, and every tribe, every culture has their own version of the vision quest. Like when they say, "Oh yeah, so and so wandered off into the desert for 40 days and he came back and his eyes were like fire." You're like, "Okay, well, yeah, this, he went out and he had a vision, or he had heat stroke and then a vision, or anything like that. Anything that gets you toward, I mean, near death experiences do it a lot."
Mm-hmm.
Which is why they used to baptize people. They used to. That's why a Baptist had to be skilled. It's because they would hold you under until the bubbles stopped, and they had to know the exact moment to pull you up to give you a near-death experience instead of a death experience. So when you get to that critical level, that critical moment, you understand, like, everything else strips away, and you get contact with your genuine soul, with your true self, your HGA. Now, you can also do that with just like with the Abramelin ritual is just 6 months of focused attention on that one thing, which that also does it. Or you can give yourself a near-death experience.
All right. Well, let's not try to kill ourselves just for that information.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the last one I'm going to
Near-death.
ask, don't make your near death an actual death. The last thing I'm going to ask you is this. Thelema has had a lot of ups and downs the past couple of years. Some people are saying it's going to come back. Some people say it's gone. What's your hope and observation with Thelema? And what can you recommend for those who want to understand more about it? And here's another one. Do you need to be part of the OTO to practice Thelema?
Well, here's the thing. Thelema itself is not going to go away for a couple thousand years.
Uh-huh.
It's the current aeon. We don't control that. It's going to happen. It's actually the natural state of man to work within your own true will. People do it naturally all the time. It's only when things start getting, flubbed up, that, because it's not a magical thing. It's just it's a spiritual thing. It's who you are. Now, there's magical ways to discover this and implement it. But if someone's true will is to, push a pencil and file, quarterly reports and do spreadsheets, boom, have at it. You'll be happy as hell. Everybody's going to hate him at work, but that's the guy. So if you're doing your will naturally, you don't need any of this.
Yeah.
But so Thelema itself is not going to go away. And no, you don't need to be a member of the OTO to do this. You can be in any religion or no religion at all.
I see. Do you think there's going to be another Crowley that's going to pop up, or do you think that he's one and done?
Well, for the next Aeon, there's going to be another prophet.
Really?
Now, what they have is when Crowley became a Magus, and he spoke the word of Thelema, every Magus after him, he originally said that, well, they speak the same word. But as we saw with Michael Aquino, they can speak a word that modifies the current Aeon. So, like Aquino, his word was hefer, to become. So it's more about it's less about externalizing your true will as something you have to acquire and discover, and it's more about becoming that. You become the embodiment of your true will. So it's the same, but it modifies it. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Well,
so
what?
In 2,000 years, someone else is going to come along and say, okay, the word of the law is now,
Turkey.
Blamblefrats.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
Go forth and Blamblefrats all you want.
Well, that was an interesting thing, and I think the people who tuned in, they learned a thing or two about Thelemic Ritual Magick, Thelema as a whole, and some of the benefits of being part of that. And with that being said, you want to plug your upcoming book?
Actually, I wanted to go over one quick thing.
Go ahead.
When you talked about the Abramelin working, there's several versions of that.
Yeah, go
There
ahead.
was Crowley had the Bornless Ritual. Looking at you, Kitty. He had the Bornless Ritual, and which was originally the Headless Ritual from the PGM. You're familiar with the PGM, but a lot of
Yes.
people aren't. It was basically this several centuries of ancient Greek spell books that have been just kind of collected together into one trove, and it's got this whole genre that kind of sprang up around it because it's Greco-Egyptian magic from these particular spell books. So that was the Headless Ritual. The Bornless Ritual is essentially the same. They change a couple of the words, but you're still invoking the one who was without beginning or end, which is your holy guardian angel. Liber Somic was kind of a boiled down version of it, but what it did was it wasn't just the ritual, it was the entire working around it. Like with Abramelin, they say, oh yeah, you have to have your hermitage, you need 6 months, you got to have this and this and this and this. Somic does the same thing with the Bornless Ritual.
Amazing, amazing. So basically, these are like modernized modifications that still get similar results. Because I do know that Jake Stratton Kent had his own approach of the Headless Ritual, I think it was, and it allowed the practitioner to use that ritual for 4 different ways. One could have been as an empowerment, one as an exorcism, one as a protection. So he kind of like turned into a bit of a Swiss Army knife. So if you guys can read up on that, there's an amazing book about that by the late Jake Stratton Kent on what's it called, on Hadean Press's Guide to the Underworld. You guys got to check it out. So with that, like I said, I think everybody's learned quite a bit about Thelema today. Wade, once again, you're a trove of knowledge. And I'd like to remind you again, do you want to plug the upcoming release of The Acolyte?
Yes, I would love that. We had the initial release in the Philippines at Terracon 25, but I'm going through a new publisher, and we're working out all the little details, getting the cover right, and all of these other things. But it should be on Amazon in maybe a couple weeks.
All right, Kitty has a question to ask. I have a couple more questions too, if it's okay to ask. Go ahead, Kitty. You got 2 minutes. Ask them now. I'm sure it's okay. Ask your question, Kitty, or I'm gonna end the show. Going once. Hey, by the way, what's the next book coming out after Acolyte? I know, but other people don't.
That would be Sorcerer. Mm-hmm. That one is going to be all of it, because Acolyte is about shaper magic, about grabbing energy directly and making it into the things that you want. It's the most rudimentary form of magic, but it's accessible to everybody. You don't need any special training or tools. It's just the basics of magic. And then using in Sorcerer, you're going to be doing like using things, magical tools, stones, herbs, all that kind of stuff.
All right, Kitty's question is, for Liber Resh von Helios, how come some people perform the LVX signs before the morning adoration while others don't?
Some people put salt in their coffee too.
It's a good way of putting it.
Honestly, try it and see if you like it. I don't know what the connection with using the LVX signs before, if it's not in the original text of the ritual, I don't know what people get out of it. Mm-hmm. But try it, see if you like it.
Remember, at the end of the day, magic is subjective. Okay, there are some people who would want to follow the protocol to the T, and other people would want to wear a clown suit while doing it, and they still get a result. So allow yourself some wiggle room and allow yourself to tweak these rituals.
Funny you should mention the clown suit. There was one of the rituals with the Temple of Set with all of these mages in their black robes and nice, neat, orderly lines. And probably the most satanic guy there had on tie-dyed robes, and he was just doing the airplane dance, going back and forth up and down the lines, weaving in and out, and everyone else was doing their best to ignore him. But this was the most satanic guy I'd ever seen. It was amazing.
You know, just the whole thought of it reminded me of a common friend of ours. God bless him. But until then, it's been a wonderful episode, Wade. I'll see you next week. We'll talk about a new topic soon, because if we're lucky, a person I thought went to the great beyond might be joining us for an episode, because he's actually still alive. So I'm hoping for that one soon. All right. This is Robin Wade signing off.